And we're live. Welcome back, everybody, to the Podcaster Nation. That's right. This is the podcast that is for podcasters. It's about podcasters, and it's done by podcasters. And yes, we have a podcaster as a guest today. My name is Rory Paquette. I am your host. I love this. I love this job. I love being here, and I love you guys. This is the podcast where the rising tide raises all ships. We're here to help each other. We're here to network. We're here to work together and to find out more and more about the mistakes that we make as podcasters and maybe the tips and tricks that we've learned along the way. I have a very accomplished podcaster with me today. Great guy. Honestly, we had to stop from talking in the pre-interview, or we would have just sat there talking off camera for probably another half an hour. But please welcome to the show the host of the Family Vacationer podcast, Rob Jones. Rob, how you doing, man?
I'm doing well, and I have to say it is very weird to be on this side of the interview process. So it's great to be here, though.
I'm glad to hear that. That's one of the reasons why we do this is because as podcasters, we never get to be on that side. So,
Right, right.
buckle up, man. You get used to it. It'll only take you a couple minutes. It's going to be cool. But listen, I had a chance to listen to one of your episodes on the Family Vacationer podcast. It was the one, it was very recent. It was about over tourism.
Yes.
Okay. And so, I mean, it's very informative. I was like, okay, what am I going to hear? I had no idea what to expect going into it. Tell
Yeah.
everybody a little bit about the podcast itself.
So I had been looking to start a podcast for, gosh, probably 2 or 3 years, and I kept trying to figure out what topic, resonated with me that I felt like I could, do multiple episodes on and it not get old quickly. And around that same time, I had started as a home-based travel agent, and I thought, well, let's talk about family vacations. I mean, that's one thing that I feel like is a topic that you could talk about that forever. And looking back on my life, a lot of my most treasured family memories come from our family vacation. My dad worked so hard as I was growing up, and family vacations I always look forward to because I got to see him in a different light, more relaxed, just having fun. Got to know him in a different way, and so that's kind of the path that we took. I started with a good friend of mine who I had known since Cub Scouts. We knew each other very well. We were in a rock and roll band for a while together, and it was a good opportunity for us to kind of reconnect. And he's a family guy too. So yeah, we just talked family vacations. And one of the things that you would have to admit about family vacations is they can be stressful. And so the entirety of the podcast was built around what can we do to kind of take some stress out of that, be it give you some vacation options, or travel gadgets that we could cover, or just what we wound up going into. And a lot of the topical stuff that we cover on the show are it's born out of my parental failures. I have three children. My daughter's 23. She's actually about to get married in April of 2025. And then I've got a 14-year-old and I've got an 8-year-old. My 14-year-old has a raging case of ADHD. And so, family vacations for us would unfortunately kind of devolve into me calling him down all the time. And I just kept thinking, man, there's got to be a better way. And so I ran across a family psychologist, and had done a lot of work with ADHD children. I learned the term neurodiversity, which I had never heard about before.
Wow.
That covers autism, ADHD, just a wide variety of things. And so we've had her on the show 4 times now. I consider it free therapy. We cover a lot of things about our family vacation, our family dynamic. And one of the things that came out of that was the reality is my expectations are what need to change, not necessarily my son's behavior. So that's kind of, we cover a wide variety of things. You mentioned over tourism. That's a topic that's just, it's funny. You go on Instagram and you see people's pictures from from Rome or Barcelona, and you see that shot, right? Well, you've seen in the news the wider shot of just all kinds of people lining up to have that one picture, and it just hit me that these places that we love so much, we are visiting them to death. Like, and so how do we make a difference as a family, and be more intentional about the vacation dollars we spend? And, are there alternative places that we can go that have just as much history and beauty? And so, yeah, I mean, we try to cover just a little bit of everything on the show that makes sense. We're a soccer family. I'm trying to do a show on just kind of what it means to be a travel sports family,
Oh
because you got
gosh.
baseball and footballs year round now, and definitely with soccer. And my daughter played from the time she was 5 until her freshman year of college. So yeah, we're trying to fit everything we can in our little box, and we're having a good time doing it.
Well, I can't wait to hear that one. I mean, I've been there, done that with the travel kids and all the
Yeah,
sports. So, and congrats on the engagement. I mean, that's
yeah,
fantastic. So, congrats to your daughter, right? So what you said?
yep,
Yeah.
yep. And he's a good guy too. So that's a
Well, there you go.
bonus.
There you go. There you go. I mean, you can't really ask for more than that. Everything else is out of
You
your
can't,
control. So,
for sure,
that's
for sure.
fantastic. All right. Okay, I got to know. So, how do you get into this type of thing?
Well, so like I mentioned, I was a home-based travel agent for a good long while until recently here, and I just thought it might be a good way of kind of establishing myself as a subject matter expert and maybe drumming up some business for me as a home-based agent. Didn't exactly work that way, but it did kind of increase my curiosity and about different places and just different topics that relate to vacation, like over tourism. I don't think that's something I would have even really thought about unless I got into this world and started to see kind of the ramifications of what that looks like. And um I definitely don't think I would have been as reflective on how we vacation as a family and maybe how we could better that. I always tell people, like, if you feel like you vacation perfectly as a family, this podcast may not be for you, because we're going to look at different ways of changing the mindset. So um, fortunately, I haven't met a whole lot of families who that applies to. So most of them are like my family and could stand, maybe some changes in expectations. And that was the first episode that we did with Dr. Emily King, who is the child psychologist that came on, was managing expectations of the family vacation. Just understanding that, me as a 52-year-old man, I've got certain expectations. My 14-year-old son has got completely different vacation expectations, and
Right.
and how do you wrap that all together and tie it up in a bow and have a good time and make the memories are really the important part of it, right? So how do
Right.
you how do you make the most positive memories you can? And so that's kind of how we started going down the road.
I never thought of it that way, but yeah, I mean, everybody has their own expectation of what they're excited about, what they can't wait to see, what they're looking forward to. So
Yeah,
yeah, that's an interesting way to look at it.
yeah. Well, and it's even so if you go with extended family, right, it's even more complicated because you've got different groups of parents that probably parent differently. And then so you're taking your kids out of their routine, which is a big deal, especially for neurodivergent children. Like the routine, that structure, they need that. And you're taking them out of that. And so one of the first things she said hit me like a ton of bricks. And it was, going on a family vacation is not a vacation from being a parent. It's more like a family field trip. And I was like, okay, I think I've been doing it wrong. So it was yeah, I had to take my medicine a little bit. And I'm sure, when my wife heard that episode, she's like, finally he gets it. So uh
Oh, I understand completely. Oh my gosh. Okay. And so you started out doing this, for basically for work. You said
yeah,
that it didn't exactly establish you as an expert in the field. I mean, you've been doing this 5 years and like
yeah.
160 something episodes. I mean, something's working.
Yeah, well, I mean, we're having a good time doing it. And expert, what does that even mean, really, right? It didn't provide me the clientele like I was expecting. And that's
Ah,
fine. I mean, for a lot of things, for most things, I think, the journey is as important as anything. And the journey in this regard has been so valuable for me and my family that I wouldn't trade it for anything.
that's great. Well, and so now currently, you let me know that you're not in that business anymore.
I'm not. Nope.
Okay. But you still want to do the podcast, and now your wife's going to be doing the podcast with you?
Yeah, we kind of hit a watershed moment with my co-host Danny. He's got so many things going on in his life. I'll have to throw out. He has a YouTube channel called The Language Tutor, which if you're looking to learn French or Spanish or Portuguese or English as a second language, he has a ton of free content there. So he's also a high school language teacher, and so it was just it had gotten to the point where trying to sync our schedules was just almost impossible. And so I was trying to figure out, well, do we keep going? What do we do? And I was actually thinking of shuttering for a while, just kind of taking a break. And then my wife showed interest in being my co-host, which I was shocked and it was a happy surprise. So yeah, we're changing it up a little bit and headed forward. There's still quite a few episodes because she actually works at an elementary school, so her schedule is similar to Danny's without all the extracurricular stuff other than soccer. So there are episodes where it's just me doing the show, but yeah, I mean, I'm excited to do it with my wife. It's a different dynamic, obviously, and it makes it much more personal for our family. So even had all three of my kids doing a little commercial when I was doing the travel agent thing to let them do a commercial for me within the show. So it's a family affair for sure.
I mean, I give you guys all the credit in the world if the two of you can pull that off.
Yeah.
My wife wouldn't work with me for all the tea in China. I'm telling you right now, if I said, "Hey, why don't you come do this for me?" She'd be like, "No." She's like, "Mm."
I have to get her to stop hitting me during the episodes. That's yeah, that's tricky.
I just, a podcast question. What's that going to do to your setup? Did you have to like increase something by a mixing board, second set, or anything
No,
like that?
well,
Or
just I just added a microphone. I use the Zoom PodTrack
Mhm.
P8, and I just added a microphone. It was relatively easy. There's some legit. I am not a tech expert when it comes to the recording portion of this. Um, just a side note, I actually moved to Nashville to be to record in a studio, to be a recording tech, and I lasted one semester. um, I didn't see the sun for an entire semester, and I just, you never meet a lead guitarist or a vocalist that didn't feel like they could do a better take, and so it was so repetitive over and over. So yeah, that never really took for me. So I know just enough to turn things on, and we had to figure out some stuff with Zoom and how that worked with a second microphone and her. I have a little studio built in our house, and so we're kind of in the same room. So there was some logistical things to kind of figure out there, but nothing really that heavy. Just a matter of working through it.
are you guys audio only, or are you video also?
So that's another story. We tried YouTube for a while, and um, just didn't get any traction there. I mean, YouTube for me, and this is just my take, if you are already have some level of fame or recognition, then it's not that difficult to get going on YouTube and to build some momentum. If you're building from scratch like we did, it just it was going to require a heck of a lot more time and effort than I had to figure out how to make that work. Because some people just take the video of their show and put it on YouTube, and if that works for them, that's great. It did not work for us, and I just realized I didn't have the bandwidth to figure out how to repurpose content, and I would love to, but in addition to being a podcaster, I do have a full-time job that requires a lot from me. So it was just a matter of, do we just put that up there and just let it, see what happens, or do we just focus on audio? And right now I'm focusing on audio, but I do have hopes of someday being able to break into the video. I do unfortunately have a face and a body meant for audio. So I'm not entirely certain that I am the poster child for video content. So,
Well, I mean, neither one of us are bikini models, okay? I mean,
oh,
I mean, come on,
oh,
you
that
know.
image right there. I apologize
Oh
to everyone
my goodness.
listening, watching. Uh, Lord help
Okay.
us.
No, I've always been a proponent of, I mean, anybody I've ever talked to and said that if you have any kind of a business, you
Yeah,
need to have a podcast.
yeah,
It used to be the business card, and then after Amazon started publishing books, it was, well, do you have a book that you put out for your business? Now it's, do you have a podcast? And
yeah,
so when I found out that you were doing that for a living and then also doing the podcast, everything made total sense.
yeah.
When we met and you said, hey, I'm not doing that anymore, but I'm going to keep doing the podcast. See, now I went, awesome, because you're established. You've got 5 years, 165 episodes, and
Hmm.
it would be a crime to let that go. But is it time now to turn the podcast into more of a business instead of like just something that builds credibility?
Yeah. I mean, I would love for that to be the case. So my dreams, I guess, are a little small, maybe next to others when it comes to a podcast. And I agree with you totally. I think if you are running a business and you don't have a podcast, I think you're missing the boat. I think you are missing a grand opportunity to present yourself to the public and let them, you know, let them get to know you. I think a lot of times we overcomplicate business. I think it's relational. I think you're not necessarily doing business with another business. It's still people, right? And
Right.
so you have an opportunity to present your knowledge to folks and let them get to know you. As far as this podcast goes, yeah, I mean, I would love it. Baby steps, right? I would love to have the opportunity to take my family out to different locations, different destinations, like we've talked about, and kind of go more in depth there. I'd love to have my kids on a little bit more, although that does also scare me, especially giving my 14-year-old a hot mic. But yeah, I mean, I would love to get their perspective because again, there are different levels of expectations within the family, and I think having the different viewpoints, I think there would be value there. So yeah, I would love to kind of build a business from this. But I'm not necessarily looking to, I don't know. I think a lot of people when they do start a podcast, the desire is to monetize it quickly.
Right.
And hey, if that works for you, great. Like I'm all for it. I love that people are making money podcasting and building businesses. That's great. For me, it just hasn't happened that way, and I'm okay with it. I just want to be very intentional about, like, for example, if we bring on a sponsor, I want to make sure it's a sponsor that makes sense within the family vacation world, and it's a product that I believe in and feel like it makes a difference. Yeah, so I don't know if that answered the question. I kind of rambled there, but
No, it's great.
yeah, but that's kind of my philosophy. I'm not looking to. I mean, if I had overnight success, I wouldn't turn it down, but I'm also not necessarily expecting that to happen. And like I said, the journey is just as important as the destination.
I love the fact that you're one of the people right now who just love doing the podcast. I
Yeah.
mean, it's therapy for some folks. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
It's a really good time. It's something to like look forward to. Would give you a little purpose, a little structure. That you're going to enjoy.
Yeah.
I mean, it's really no different than going and bowling every Thursday. You know what I mean? If that's really what you love doing, it's like,
Well, I'm awful at golf, so I need a hobby. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't have enough money to waste golf balls like I would if I played golf. So no, this is a great opportunity, and like I said, it's helped me kind of within the confines of our family, kind of consider things differently. Again, like my 14-year-old, yeah, I joke he's going to be the death of me, but I am determined to reach him on his level, be it in a vacation setting or just here at home. And so this has helped me go a long way in trying to understand. What's funny is he has ADHD, and so I was at my doctor, and we were talking about stuff, and I brought up the fact that my son has ADHD, and my doctor said, "Well, that's in a lot of cases it's hereditary," and I'm like, "Oh, well, I don't think." He said, "Well, here, just take this test real quick." Lo and behold, I have ADHD. So, um, yeah, there was lots of irony floating around that day.
I'll
So,
bet. Yeah.
yeah. So anyway,
Okay. Yeah. I somehow I knew that's where you're going with the story. I'm like,
yep,
I think
yep.
that pretty sure that's where you're going. So, um, okay. I mean, so you've branched out a little bit too. I mean, because you don't just talk about, hey, here's the destination, here's what's great here. Make sure you see these sites. You
Yeah,
go into a lot of things in a lot more like depth and detail, and then you also have these related episodes like when you're talking about taking the family there and the issues that are involved with family.
yeah.
I mean, how do you put all that together?
It's really I've tried to sit down before and do like a content calendar thing, and I'm still probably headed more in that direction of looking like I'm about to do an episode on fall, like places to visit in the fall that would be fun for families. And so I'm trying to take a, you know, high level view of it, but a lot of it just kind of I go by feel. If there's something that's topical that's in the news that might relate to family travel, try to get that in there. Like the over tourism, I just read an article, I think it was on CNN, can't remember now, but it just seems like that issue is not going away and it's only going to get worse. Especially if people, one thing during COVID, it hit me. We were going to we would go every year to Destin, Florida. Favorite spot to vacation. I love just floating in the water. It's kind of my spiritual reset button. Love going. We went during COVID and it hit me, and it shouldn't have taken this long to occur to me or be important to me, but it really hit home the fact that I love that spot. I love visiting, but that's people's homes, right? And so, that's a different mindset. You want to leave the place better than you found it. And I think, unfortunately, there are a lot of us, and I think I would have led that charge that really go on vacation with a sense of entitlement, especially the more we spend, right? The higher level of entitlement, well, I'm spending this much, so I should be able,
Right.
and
Yeah.
unfortunately, that's not always a healthy way of approaching it. And we also live in a society that's all about, consuming, right? We consume something, we throw it away. And I think that started to creep into how we vacation some. Like we're almost consuming the area, and whatever's left, we just, toss on
Hmm.
the trash can on the way out. And that's not going to work anymore. I always tell people, if you want to get the absolute most out of your vacation, make friends with locals, talk to locals. Um, they have a passion for the area that you're visiting that is like even Destin. I love going, gone every year since I was 2 years old, but I don't love it like the locals love it. And so and the knowledge they have of being there year round, there's value there. And it's just good to engage and not be so temporary with how we view, how we vacation.
That's another very unique viewpoint. I heard a lot of that in that episode. Yeah, that you were
Yeah.
talking about, and that was one of the things that hit me was that I've never heard anything like that before. Anybody talking about vacations or traveling or locations or whatever it is, I've never heard that sort of like introspective. Put yourself in the the shoes of the locals, and not only will it benefit you,
Yeah.
but you want to leave the place in a better. I've never heard anybody say that. Leave the place in better
Yeah.
shape than how you found it.
Well, and unfortunately, that's not a an opinion or that's not something that I have always held that as a viewpoint. Unfortunately, I've I really feel like my whole thing was I want to get as much as I can out of this vacation, again, once you start paying for it, once you get, you graduate from kid to parent, right? And you're paying for it, you want to get the most out of it that you possibly can.
Right.
But I don't know that that's the healthiest approach to it, especially when it comes to, what we're teaching our children. Growing up, I had a certain viewpoint. But now that I have boys, especially, if I can, I joke with my daughter, how easy she was to raise and what a good kid, she just was like, I would love to take credit for it, but she's just a good kid. But my boys, trying to teach them empathy and kindness and things that have value like that, it is increasingly difficult. And I think if we approach, how we treat locals, for one thing, again, if we're bringing that sense of entitlement on vacation with us, we're not treating people the way that we should. And we're not teaching our kids to treat people the way that we should. And listen, I don't have the moral high ground to tell anybody what to do, but I'm just trying to present maybe a different approach. Um, because I do feel like when we take our kids on vacation, there's so many teaching moments, so many opportunities for them to grow and learn to be resilient, learn to be curious. So yeah,
Wow. All right.
that
I
might be a
love
bit
that.
heavy for a vacation podcast, but I mean that again, that's popped up out of this whole journey. Like I didn't start this expecting, to come up with a new way to vacation. That wasn't, something that was on the docket when I started, but as we've taken this journey and talked to all these different people in these destinations. So that's a cool topic there. I have a lot of people from the Convention and Visitors Bureau, and for them it's a free opportunity to talk about their town. And so I mean it is their job, but these people are so passionate about their areas. And that's kind of one, like a light bulb went off, like, oh, there's more there. There's more there to think about and to talk about. And so beyond just saying, hey, you need to go to, Wally World or whatever, like there are definite things like what are the cultural experiences? And that's kind of a tough sell in my family. I love history. My wife does not. So I have to find opportunities that are interactive and I'll say it sneaky, like at sneaky educational experiences that don't seem to be that. So, but yeah, I mean again, that all popped up along the way. It's not something I intended when I started.
I love the reference to National Lampoon's Vacation, with the
Yeah,
Wally
thank you.
World too. That was,
I try to get in one of those, every chance I get.
I mean, that was incredibly fitting. So that's great. No, that's, I mean, that's another good point just about vacationing, in
Yeah,
terms of like who gets to dictate, who's into what, and who wants what out of the vacation. So how do you
yep.
decide where you're going, what you're doing, everything else? Um, what is your advice on that? Do you try to be fair to everybody type thing, or do you just say we're going to do this vacation for you, the next vacation's for you? How do you work that out?
Well, we are rut vacationers. There's okay. So I
You're
think
what?
people rut vacationers, we go to the same places over
Oh,
and
okay.
over. Like
I see.
there are different philosophies. There are a lot of people who like to go to different places every year. We are a beach family. We are a Disney family. And so a lot of our trips revolve around those two places. And I have been to beaches all over the US, and there's just no place I love more than the Gulf of Mexico. So a lot of our vacations revolve around that. So within that for us, it then becomes how do you plan your days? Now, of course, my boys would, if the beach, they want to go to the beach during the day. They want to hit a, putt putt. They want to hit putt putt. I just aged myself. A mini golf, um, or do go karts, or people are like putt putt. What is that? I don't even know what that is. Um,
Only people our
they're
age know that. Yeah.
right, right. They're wanting to do activity all the time. And whereas, me Dad, I just like to float in the water and go have some seafood. Like that's vacation for me. So it's really a matter of like what you're saying. Like how do we get a little bit of everything? So dad has to give a little bit and you have to get your kids to give a little bit. And again, to me, that's a teaching moment. It lets them know that it's not all about them. Like there are broader, they have to consider everybody else's wants and desires too. And again, when you're going with extended family, then that's even more people that are stakeholders in this vacation. How do you make everybody happy? You can't make everybody happy. So, I mean, I just feel like you do the best you can. We've done a cool episode on letting the kids plan the vacation. We have some good friends at Connected Family Travel, and they did. They're all about this topic. They let their kids pick where they're going and plan. And it's really an excuse for the kids to. I think if I remember correctly, they let them pick like three possible destinations, and they research these three different destinations, and it's a very sneaky way of getting them to learn about these three different destinations. So there's all kinds of value in that,
All
right?
right.
And
Yeah.
then you let them kind of you can't do everything, right? So then they have to put priorities, of what they want to do. There's just so many teaching moments and all that. So there's different approaches. I'm actually in the process of writing a book based out of some of the podcasts. And I'm saying I'm announcing this on this show to put pressure on myself to keep writing.
All right.
But
It's out there now.
yeah, I mean, there's different approaches. There's different ways that people approach family vacations, and I feel like parents at times just need validation of what they're trying to do, and to let them know, hey, it's okay if you do things this way or that way. Again, not trying to tell anybody how to vacation, but just kind of show some of the things that we've discovered as we've done the show, and how different people approach it, and you know, letting the kids plan. We've tried to incorporate that a little bit. Again, my 14-year-old, he'd take a little bit and he'll go a little too far with it. But again, just trying to teach them that there are more than themselves at stake there, and there are more people involved, and try to help them figure out, yes, I want to do this, but my brother wants to do this on this day, so we'll do that. So, you try your best, basically, to the short answer to that, and you realize you're probably not going to make everybody completely happy, and that's okay. That is
So have
okay.
so have you started writing a book yet?
I have started. I have an outline. I
All
have a couple
right. There you go.
chapters written. But yeah, I keep telling people that I'm doing it as much to force me to complete it as anything. So, because then when people go, "Hey, how's that book going?" Oh, I need to write another chapter. So,
Well, hey, when you get that done, let me know. We'll get you back on here to promote your book.
okay.
I
All
mean, I
right.
I think
That
that'd be
sounds
great.
good.
Yeah, that'd be wonderful. All right, a couple podcasty type, questions.
Yeah.
I always ask everybody the one corny question I have. What do you love the most about podcasting and with what you're doing? And even though it's a strong word, what do you hate the most or dislike the most about podcasting?
The latter is the easier question, so I'll field that one. I hate editing the podcast. I hate the sound of my voice. I hate it. And so
Really?
editing, yes. Oh my gosh. All the noises I make, I will stutter with the best of them. Uh, I would mention Mel Tillis, but that would again age me horribly.
You're really aging, yeah.
But yeah, I hate doing that. When Danny was the co-host, I asked him to do it as much as he had time to, just because if it was me, I would edit myself out of the show pretty much. So, yeah, I don't like that at all. What do I love the most? Man, so many things. I love talking to different people that are so passionate about the part of the country they live in. I love finding out new spots new destinations that I wasn't aware of. Because, for every New York City or um, Orlando, there are, gosh, so many smaller towns that deserve your time and attention and places I had no idea about. So we try to, when we're doing destinations, I probably spend more time doing, smaller destinations than I do the larger ones because, if you want to know about New York City, one, I'm not the person to talk to because that's not my favorite destination, but there are plenty of resources on learning about New York City. Smaller towns across the country, not so much. So I love being able to, and quite frankly, they're a lot more willing to come on the show and spend time with me and talk about things. So, but I love that. I love discovering new places to visit. I love covering you doing the topical shows that we've done. We did a show on how to save money on vacation. That's all. I mean, goodness, could there be anything more relevant right now?
Seriously.
But yeah, and again, the a lot of the topical things that we do are based on struggles that I have in parenting. My youngest was asking me the other day about, how do we know how to be a parent? And I said, well, buddy, unfortunately, you didn't come with a manual, so we're all kind of winging it. We're all kind of learning as we go. And um, but again, the family vacation to me is such a sacred thing just because I have so many cherished memories. And I mentioned to you, my dad's in poor health right now, and it's become even more valuable to me. All those memories of spending time,
Yeah.
at the beach or wherever we would go to the mountains, just about every winter. So just a lot of those memories are things that I will cherish for the rest of my life. So we understand, the family vacation is important, and so any way that we can contribute to making that better for other people, we're all about. So I love that about the show, and I love how many things have popped up just out of nowhere, just directions for the show that I never would have intended when we started. I kind of made a plan when we started. I took a course. Oh my gosh, and I can't remember the gentleman's name. He's well known in the podcast world, but I took his course and I did his kind of outline of how to start a podcast, and it was extremely helpful. And can't believe I can't remember his name, but how about that for an endorsement? That's
There
awesome.
it is.
But Flynn, I can't. Oh my
Pat
gosh,
Flynn.
that's gonna.
Pat Flynn.
Yes,
Yep.
yes, Pat Flynn, great course.
Yep.
And so that was very helpful. But this show has evolved in ways that I never would have intended or, even thought that it would go. So I love kind of how it evolves pretty much on a daily basis. So much to love and really only one thing that I hate.
Good answer. Good answer. Even plugged Pat Flynn in there. I love that.
Yeah,
All right.
yeah,
Okay. And so then, I mean, hey, you've been doing this, 5 years. You got
yeah.
160 plus episodes out there. What's your best piece of advice to, the podcaster that's sort of, 6 to 12 episodes in? They've decided, yeah, I do want to keep doing this.
Yeah.
Now what? Right? What's your best piece of advice to that, man or woman who's in that spot?
Keep plugging away. I mean, that's honestly, there are all kinds of pieces of advice that I would give, but that would be the main one. And look, people tell you consistency, keep putting it out, keep putting it out. And I totally agree with that. But if you need to take a break, take a break. Like if you look at 5 years, and I mean, we started out bi-weekly, but if I was doing a weekly show, I mean, you could do the math. I'm not very good at math, but if you did the math, that doesn't equal out, and I don't care. Um, so like I said, for me, this is a passion project. This is something I believe in and enjoy. But if my schedule last week I didn't put out a show, it bummed me to not put out a show, but my schedule was insane. So I didn't put out a show, and I'm okay with it. I'm not losing my mind over it. But yeah, I mean, your schedule, what you're doing. Consistency absolutely does matter. And if you tell people you've got a show coming out, you need to have a show coming out. But if on the other side of that, if things happen, it's your life, man. Don't stress. Um, but yeah, keep keeping at it and finding new ways to be passionate about the subject matter around the podcast. And I think too, another piece of advice is just being honest with yourself. I started out in the music business as a career and wanted to be a songwriter. Did not happen for me. I probably gave up on it too soon. My skin wasn't as thick as it should have been back in the day. But like I said, I'm 52. I have friends that have never had a hit that are still plugging away in the music industry. It may be time for a different career. So you have to you
All
have to be
right.
honest. You have to be honest too. Like if something isn't working, um, maybe it's time to try something different. There are plenty of people who started a podcast, it didn't work out the way they wanted. They gave up that podcast, started another, and then they're hugely successful. So, you got to find what matters to you and just keep at it.
Love it. And if you're going to start being a singer or something, definitely contact me. I'll find someplace to feature you. I mean, I know
No,
a lot of folks in this
no,
industry.
I don't even
We'll
sing in the
find
shower
somewhere.
anymore. I've given all that up. Yeah, no, the songwriter story is one that I go over with my kids because I tell them, I wanted to be in the music business, and I moved to Nashville and went to undergrad there and was in the music business for a while. But that was my dream, but I didn't have any plans underneath it. And
Mhm.
I say a dream without plans is a fantasy, and that's really kind of what happened
Gotcha.
to me there. So yeah,
All
life
right.
lessons, man.
Yeah, absolutely. And you've learned a bunch of them, and you're
Yeah,
putting a lot of these in your podcast. I love the range of your podcast. I think it's great. This has been a lot of fun hearing about this. Not at all what I expected, but that's what I love about doing these
yeah,
interviews. When you're talking to podcasters and about different podcasts, you never know what you're going to get hit with. I
sure.
do want to say sorry to hear about your dad. And all my wishes,
I
best wishes
appreciate it.
for him, and prayers and whatnot. I hope he, turns it around. But sorry to hear
Thank you.
about that. Okay.
Thank you.
Now, if somebody wants to get in touch with you, maybe somebody wants to sponsor, your
Yeah.
podcast that you're going to keep going. How do they reach you, Rob?
Easiest way, they can email me at rob@thefamilyvacationer.live. We are on Instagram. It's at the Family Vacationer. Facebook is at the Family Vacationer Podcast. I refuse to do X or Twitter. I think that is the worst thing ever. But yeah, you can hit us there. You can go to the website, thefamilyvacationer.live. Somebody had.com, dadgummit.
You
So
got it.
that's it. That's the way to hit us up. Yeah, we'd love to talk to people. I would honestly love to have more people, more just regular moms and dads talk about their family vacation experiences. Somebody keeps after me to do a show on family vacation horror stories. I don't know that I want to pull on that thread, but seems like it could be some good content there. But yeah, if
Yeah,
anybody's got a story, hit me up.
be careful what you ask for, right? Because
Right, right,
that's
right.
where that could land.
Yeah,
All right, Rob, thank you, man. I appreciate you coming on the show today. I really, really do, and just
yeah,
sharing your vision and your life and your podcast with everybody. I mean, I've had a great time. I hope you have too. And
absolutely.
I think there's a lot of folks out there who are going to tune in because I mean it's a cool podcast. It really
Well,
is. I
thank you
like
so
it a lot.
much. Thanks for
All
having
right,
me on.
you got it, man. Folks, you have listened to yet another fantastic episode of the Podcaster Nation. We're the podcast that's about podcasters, for podcasters, done by podcasters. And most importantly, this is the place where the rising tide raises all ships. So keep sailing. And we'll talk to you soon.